opinion on this idea? You know, I think Steve Jobs famously said that, you know, people don't know what they want. But what is your opinion on, you know, when people give you feedback on the App Store saying like, I want this feature, or like, you know, I want to change this, do you go about doing it, or what's your thought?
Yeah, so I think it comes back to like how much power you have to convince a person that he needs that he needs you. And like with a startup, like our marketing budget is, well, 0. Well, we have a little bit more after we raised our first seed round, but it depends on like what are you going to sell. In our case, we are going to sit within the daily workflow of a person. So if somebody says I need this, then I'm pretty sure then they are asking for it. So it goes into a list. So we basically maintain a list in GitHub. And every time when feedback comes, we basically do a +1 on that specific feature, and then we can see which features kind of come to the top, and those are the features that go well next to the ones that we also want to be to build. But those are the features that will be addressed first. So, for example, with invoices, like we launched without people being able to brand their invoice, which obviously is a crucial. A lot of people want that because they want to show their logo to their clients. But we thought we could launch without, and some people were using us without their logo, fine. But it was like the top feature that people were asking for. Like, you know, I want to be able to add my logo. So that's been added now. The next one, it was the second feature. So we kind of use that feedback mechanism to classify our priorities for the next features.
Yeah, because I think it is also relevant to what we were doing. Essentially, it's about knowing what it is you exactly do, and then this is the most important thing. What is the core service? Like, for example, for us at CrowdAcure, it's the donation. So people have to be able to come on the website, see what it is, press the button, give the money, done. That's what we do. Okay, with, for example, one of our Samsung apps, we had a huge list of features already implemented. I mean, it was a huge project, but then at one point we noticed that actually 70% of our users all do the same thing. It's a football app, so everyone would go check the game, check the score, done. So actually we rearranged the entire app to support that experience. That seemed to be what the app indeed does for most people. And as soon as you have that thing correctly done, you will get good reviews. But of course, if this core feature or service that you are proposing is for some reason dysfunctional, then you have the opposite.
So you mentioned the app that you guys built for Samsung, the Kick Football app. And I know that you've launched apps before successfully, and you're now launching a web-based product. What are the differences, you know, in approach?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've launched quite a few apps over time when I've been working. I've done some 30 different products, and to me it's just different tools. It's just different platforms. You always pick the platform based on what you want to do, or who you want to reach, what kind of service you want to provide. For example, with CrowdAcure, the key is to reach as many people as possible with minimal user experience. That's why we decided to make a website with a heavy mobile optimization, because mobile is becoming the platform, and essentially you cannot ignore it, in my opinion, anymore. But at the same time, web is still there, so we might make an app later just to make a cooler user experience or to get the App Store promotion, which is of course a valid thing. But then, well, it's getting a bit technical, but then you start getting a burden of the more product you have, the more code you have, the slower everything goes. So once you have 1 or 2 or 3 apps on a website, and if you want to add a new thing, you have suddenly 3 times more effort to do the change. So in the beginning, it's better to stick to either one platform, have cross-platform, and then to see what it is you want to do before really expanding too much. Okay, with Samsung it was easy because it was Samsung and they wanted to do it for Samsung phones, so the choice was easy in that sense. But of course, the difference then is, for example, the reviews on the stores, as mentioned, which cannot be overlooked. So you cannot afford to publish anything that's too half-baked. Although on the other hand, we also noticed that it's sometimes unpredictable why users might give bad reviews. We anticipated users giving reviews on completely other things, but for example, our one-star reviews were mostly focused on the Scottish League missing from the app. And I was like, well, you know, we never promised the Scottish League, and we never said it would be there, but the Scottish user was very upset that Scottish League was there, and he completely did not mind that we at one point had some bug that made the app crash, but he found it acceptable that the app crashes as long as his Scottish League is there.
Right, okay, so you're getting onto a topic that is really important, so reviews, app reviews, and you know, what is your experience in terms of app reviews relating to new user downloads? Is there a clear, you know, one-to-one relationship? I mean, this is to all of you guys. What have you thought? And also, how have you gone about actually improving the chances that people might give you a good review? So, yeah.
I've seen quite a few apps. We've not done this ourselves because it's pretty dodgy, but basically you allow a user to onboard to a certain extent within the app, and then they need to leave you a 5-star review in order for them to progress down further stages. I've seen a few apps do that. Also, leave a good review in exchange for credit. So if anyone's familiar with the dating app Happen, if you leave them a 5-star review, you'll get 5 more credits for them and stuff like that, and they've got a shitload of good reviews, and I think that's how they got to the top of the App Store. I think carrying on from what you just said, I've seen it increasingly in a few apps. They have gated review requests, so they'll ask you, like, for instance, how would you rate Tinder out of 5? If you give it 5 stars, they take you to the App Store so you can leave a review. If you give 1 to 2 stars, then they take you to customer support so they can deal with your issue.
Yeah.
So they're kind of filtering the good and bad reviews.
I think so. Getting 5-star reviews is really important, of course. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's really important to understand where the trust of the user is coming from before like spending a lot of effort on one channel to get like 5-star reviews, for example. For some apps, the recommendation from your friend is more important, right? So you better spend your time on him or her recommending the app to her friends rather than spending time on getting a 5-star review. In our case, that's more important. So it's like, in our case, users depend more on people telling them that we are a great app than the people going to the App Store and finding us and seeing it, and depending on the 5-star review to download us. So I think it's crucial to understand which channel your potential user follows in order to find the trust and get trust to download you.
I mean, a lot of times, to me as an app developer, I see that people just want to vent. I mean, it could be about the Scottish League, it could be about the weather, it could be anything. You know, people's emotions are largely unpredictable. I mean, although if you are making games, then it can be more, more predictable. Like if they pass a difficult level, then they're probably going to be pretty chuffed with themselves. Like that might be a good time point to approach for a review. And I think, like the sort of bad reviews where they're telling you about bugs and crashes, I mean, that should be a conversation between the developer and, the user. It shouldn't be something that should be publicly displayed, right? Because it could be specific to them. I think what we've had great success with is like addressing each person's feedback as you did, and giving them the impression that their view is super important. Like I tend to say, like we're going to get the team working on this issue as soon as possible. Like the team is like me sometimes, right? But you have this impression that there's this large machine that's like all gonna churn around for you, and it's about more satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, to comment on that, we had a long discussion about it with our mentors. So we were in Waira, the accelerator from Telefonica. We had a long discussion with our mentors on that because the initial goals that we got from the program was to hit a certain number of downloads, and we didn't agree with that. We said no, that doesn't make any sense. the most important thing is that we get a fewer number of downloads, but we know who the customer is, and basically they get feedback to us. For us, that was much more important than hitting, I don't know, 1,000 downloads. Investors thought it was more important because when we have users that are coming back and giving us feedback, is for an investor a sign that we actually have engaged users, which is so I think there's like this shift in paradigm from cost per engagement, I think it's now called, or like instead of like cost per acquisition, right? So it's much more important to understand what your cost is to get an engaged user rather than somebody who just downloads your app. It doesn't, in most cases, it doesn't make any sense. So for us, the discussion was around: are we going for number of downloads, or are we going for like a smaller group of engaged people? And we decided for the last one.
I think there was a great article by Kevin Kelly on 1,000 true fans, saying how if you are any sort of creator of anything, as long as you have 1,000 people who are willing to buy your next record, who are like willing to buy the T-shirt, then you're probably going to be able to stay afloat. And I think that seems like your approach as well.
Yeah, and to add to that, our name really helped. So what happened was we initially had a different name, and we knew it was kind of a temporary name. But we are in financial tech, and in financial tech there are a lot of smart people working there, but also there are many boring names. It's always like some kind of financial service related name, and we really wanted to step away from that. We wanted to like people would notice us, and we want to be an assistant to people. So we came up with this approach of being like kind of a buddy, to have a much more human approach to finances, and that's how we tested different names. We came up with Albert. We had a list of different names, and Albert did really well. We went to a presentation on Google Campus, and we actually went to different events. We tested different names, and one evening on Google Campus, a guy goes on stage and says, "And now it's the startup with the coolest name in the world." For us was like, okay, check. This is a really good proof point. And then the final approval came when we went to a fashion freelance event. So it was like lots of makeup artists, photographers, and I was standing next to a guy who was from an accounting office, from an accounting firm, and 3 girls came to us. One was a makeup artist, one was a videographer, I think, and the other one I don't remember. And they first went to my neighbor and asked, like, what do you do? And he says, I'm from blah 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 accounting. And you see the faces of the girls like most of them even don't know what the word accounting means. It's like boring. And then they came to me like, what do you do? I said, I'm from Albert. Albert helps you with your money. And they start smiling. They're like, oh, okay, this is really cool. Like, what is it? So also this level of like emotional connection that you bring, and the kind of differentiator that you bring in terms of like naming, I think creates an initial fan base because people connect with that. So I think it's really important to get to nail that.
I think so. Let's talk about monetization. Have you guys thought about monetization? Because at the moment, Double's not monetized. Albert's not either. Have you thought about it, and when are you going to do this? Open to the floor.
Cool, I'll go first. I never thought about it initially. It never crossed my mind. Obviously, when you get investors on board, they start asking these kind of questions. So for us, it's going to be a freemium model. So it's going to be in-app purchases for enhanced functionality. So I don't know how people in here are familiar with dating apps, but you're seeing a growing trend towards you can like or dislike anonymously, but if you extremely like someone, you can send them a notification of interest, but you have to pay for it, etc. So that's the route we're going to go down. But I think monetization is quite interesting in terms of driving growth as well. We're all familiar with like the Uber double-ended referral schemes. If you get extra credits if you like her Facebook page or follow us on Instagram, etc. So there's lots of cool little hacks you can do combining monetization and growth. So we're going to do it soon.
In our case, we will follow. We're not monetizing yet. I think I think it's important to realize for yourself, like, what kind of runway are you going to give yourself, what kind of funding, and when are you going to raise money. So in our case, we are in financial tech. So I said before, but in our case, showing growth will be more important to investors than showing initial revenue. So in our case, we focus on that, and monetization is, we have a pretty good idea how it's going to work. but that's not our first goal. The first goal is to get enough users on our platform that we show that we are, can obtain a certain niche in the market that is protectable, and that's much more important for our vision. So we have an idea, but we're not worried about it yet.
Sorry, just a quick. That seems to be the way to go nowadays. Building products. It seems like nobody is focusing on monetization or making any sort of money. It seems like as long as you can get users coming back to your app and you can demonstrate the value, then that's fair game. Is that?
I think it depends what kind of product you're building. So when people come back to you, when engagement with your app is or your online platform is almost like a one-time off, like a shop or whatever, then obviously investors will look at that, or people that will make a company running will look at that. If your focus is on engagement, so people using your app multiple times, then that's the key metric. So I think it's much more important to understand what your metric is and why you're there, and your monetization model should support that, rather than thinking, okay, yeah, I'm just going to try to earn money.
Right.
You have to understand why you're there.
Tailor it to your particular service, I guess. And what about you guys?
Well, what I think about monetization is you should not take money until you need it.
So, I mean, obviously, funding only goes a certain way. It depends on your burn rate, right?
Exactly.
So you guys are developed in-house, or because you're heading up design, but is your development done in-house or is it outsourced?
No, we do everything in-house. We have a very small team. We build everything in-house.
So, I mean, then your burn rate is dramatically lower.
Yeah, I mean, the first 8 months we lived off our savings, and with the 2 founders. Savings go down very quickly in London, I must admit. Yeah, so after 8 months we raised our first round, and based on that we could start paying, hiring a person, and also start paying ourselves a little bit.
Right.
So that kind of allowed us to continue and for a longer time. But in our case, we keep the monthly burn very, very low. We are very, very lean.
Right.
Yeah.
What about Gary? You guys are developed out of house, so you're outsourced. How have you found that experience?
So initially we outsourced development overseas to Russia and randomly Kyrgyzstan. There's a lot of good Russian technicians living there. So that was the early itinerations of the product, which pretty much got us up to the product hunt stage. Then once we raised investment, we brought development in-house. So we hired a combination of freelancers and full-time employees.
Okay.
So it's changed. There's benefits and drawbacks of outsourcing. If you know what you're doing with outsourcing, then it probably works quite well. We didn't, so it didn't really work. But it got us to where we are today. So.
What would be your advice to say, somebody in our audience who wanted to build an app, but they weren't technical and they wanted to outsource it?
Find a technical co-founder if you can.
Right.
I mean, it sounds obvious, but yeah. And then outsourcing, there's a lot of good outsourcing websites. Elance and Odesk, I think they just merged to become Upwork recently. There's lots of various things you can do. They've got ratings, it's like eBay, you can see if they're rated out of 5 stars. You can have an interview with them, you can ask to see their portfolio of products, you can get references from Western-based companies that have worked with them before. You can go out and see them if you're feeling ambitious. But they're the main things that you can do to validate that they're actually the real deal.
Okay. Yeah.
I have some experience in outsourcing as well. I mean, I think what you said is correct, that you have to find a CTO. And then it's not a question of if you find a CTO or not, because if you're outsourcing without a CTO, you're looking an outsourced CTO. Simple as that. And then your CTO will be the guy who is in Russia, for example. And that's the lottery you're playing. I mean, it might be a really great guy who knows his stuff, but on the other hand, it might not be. So you have to be very, very picky, or you have to maybe even involve at least someone else who can then verify the quality of this outsourced CTO. If your friend doesn't want to commit to becoming a CTO in your company, at least the friend who in this case I assume is a technical one would then at least check if the guy there knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you are going to outsource, make sure you get someone on British soil, someone you know who knows their shit, who can advise you on like the stack, etc., of what the outsourcing team is going to build.
Did you check their portfolios, or are there ways of avoiding being scammed, or having a terrible experience?
I mean, by checking their portfolios, we just downloaded the apps and played around with them.
Yeah.
That's not extensive checking whatsoever.
Okay.
But I mean, we're complete rookies, we're very naive. But I'm sure you probably could ask to see code examples and then get someone to code check it on this.
Is there anything that you would have done differently if you went back now?
I don't know, I kind of look quite fondly back at the whole experience, but it was quite funny looking back. But yeah, I guess the main thing would be to get a CTO on your side from day one, even if they're just part-time, just code checking things for you. That would be the main thing, yeah.
Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up with a few very quick questions. So one piece of parting advice to our app entrepreneurs, potential app entrepreneurs in the audience. We'll start with Gary.
So really just touching on things that we've already spoke about. So firstly, find a technical co-founder if you can. It's difficult. You just need to go to networking events like Hipster Hacker Hustlers, events like this. You just need to really get your name out there. And secondly, of course, just validate your idea. And we already discussed solutions for doing that. I think they're the two main things that you need to really do.
Enjoy it. We like doing your own app or your own startup, depends what kind of form you want to do it, is shitloads of work. It's very stressful sometimes, especially when you're raising money. You better just like avoid drinking. Just enjoy it. It's a great experience, and you're like, I always consider ourselves very privileged that we are in the position we're in. We got through IRA, met amazing people. We have great investors behind us. We are now in FinTech Innovation Lab from Accenture in level 39. And the people you meet is like, it's just a journey that you just have to like enjoy and like learn from, and that's how we approach it, and that keeps us alive, I guess.
Yeah, I would say something similar. Find something you really want to do. This is not a great business opportunity. Startups are not a great way to make money. I mean, that's just how it is. But it's a really great way to finally work in something you truly love. And okay, maybe it will be profitable, maybe not, but at least you should have had fun during the way. That's my taking from the years of startup experience I have.
Okay, does anyone have a half-baked app idea that they would love to work on that we can throw out into the audience? That if you had any energy left, which we all know that you don't, what would you say?
So me and my co-founders, they actually got married recently. We've got two other co-founders, and we were thinking of doing an Airbnb for weddings idea, and someone's just done it. So yeah, it's called Bridebook.com.
Okay.
So I'm kind of fresh out of ideas at the moment.
Nice.
If you want to work on a cool app, then just come and talk to me afterwards.
Now, if you'd enjoyed that episode of How to Launch an App Like a Pro, we would love it if you could subscribe to our channel and like our videos. If you are interested in more app-related teachings, you can go to londonappbrewery.com, where you will find the fastest way to learn how to code and how to make iOS and Android apps. Now, if you're interested in more from us, you can check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/londonappbrewery. Or you can join the conversation on Twitter at LondonAppBrewer. And if you are ever in London, please do come down to Whitechapel and come and meet us in person. You can find out more about our meetups at www.meetup.com/LondonAppBrewery. Keep an eye out for the next episode of How to Launch an App Like a Pro. But that's all from us this time, so see you soon.